So guys, runner's knee, clinically known as patellofemoral pain, one of the most common conditions that will affect patients all around the world. So whether you're a clinician or an athlete looking to know more about this, let's dive in. Hey guys, Khalid here, welcome back to Clinical Physio. So runner's knee, as we said, one of the most common things that we treat in practice. So in this video, we're going to break it down into the causes and key symptoms that patients with this condition get, as well as the exercises we use and the key strategies to help improve their symptoms. So first of all, what are the kind of symptoms that our patients will present with? Well, ultimately, runner's knee is a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning that we need to rule out other conditions such as an ACL injury or a meniscal injury before we can be certain that this is what our patient has. Now, in terms of the consensus study that was done in 2016 looking into the key symptoms, we're looking at a mixture of both subjective and objective markers to confirm that diagnosis. For example, patients usually present with an insidious onset, i.e. no specific trauma, with a history of overload. So they've been increasing their running distance, they've been changing their running plan, and this overload has led to an increase in their pain. They might describe pain globally over the whole knee, and sometimes they'll be struggling to pinpoint exactly where it's painful. Other times, your patient may point to around the kneecap itself or perhaps either side of it to explain their pain area. You might find that patients have pain sitting with a flexed knee for a long period of time. Sometimes we refer to this as the cinema sign, because when patients sit in the cinema with their knees bent for a long period of time, it gets more painful. We also commonly find that activities such as going up and down the stairs, kneeling, and squatting might increase their pain. Patients may present with a crepitus, a little bit of a gristling, clicking movement, which could be felt on palpation, but also could be audible too. And it also will be painful to palpate the retropatellar facets either side of the back of the patella in the top corners. So ultimately, what causes these signs and symptoms? Well, the first thing to say is what we said a little bit earlier in the consensus study, an insidious onset commonly associated with an increase in their training. The increase in training creates this overload where it means that the tissues around the patella can't cope with the amount of effort that's been put through them. Otherwise, we've got evidence to suggest that weak hip muscles, particularly the hip abductors, can increase the risk of patellofemoral pain, and for sure, weak quadriceps also has an impact too. Now, there is some evidence to suggest that when your patient has altered foot mechanics, such as a flat foot or pes planus, that it may increase the risk of PFP. But it's really important to say that this doesn't happen to everyone. There are plenty of patients around the world who have a flat foot who don't get patellofemoral pain. So we have to be specific when we're looking at each patient to see if that's genuinely the case. So those are the signs and the causes. How do we actually treat runner's knee? Well, the first thing, no doubt, is that exercise has a positive effect on symptoms. We said a little bit earlier that we find that weaker hip muscles, particularly the abductors, and weak quadriceps muscles can both increase the risk of pain. And therefore, we're going to be focusing on those two muscle groups in particular when it comes to our rehab. And we know from studies such as Neal et al. From 2022 that both hip and knee targeted exercises can have both short-term effects and long-term effects on patellofemoral pain. So we definitely want to get involved with these. But what kind of exercises might we think of? So when we're thinking about the hip abduction component, we can think about something like a glute bridge, but perhaps with a strong TheraBand around the distal thighs that the patient has to push against to get the abductors working in the early stages. We could think about something like crab walks, again with a heavy TheraBand, this time around the feet. And we can progress various versions of side planks to really get those hip abductor muscles working. And then for the quadriceps muscles, I think about some of the key things that I might use regularly, such as a leg extension or a leg press. And with both of these, of course, you can gradually increase the amount of weight for your patient in line with their symptoms. And in the higher stages of rehab, something like a box jump really does get things working, particularly when you're focusing on the single leg. Now, what we do know about these kind of exercises for runner's knee is that they must be within the patient's comfort levels. We know that when we start giving patients exercises which are too irritable for their knee, it just keeps flaring them up. And so think about your reps and sets. I generally look at 8 to 12 reps across 2 to 3 sets, but I'm crucially thinking about how my patient's symptoms are reacting to those numbers, and if I need to reduce it, then I absolutely will. And generally speaking, that is just one form of what we call load management, which is crucial for runner's knee. So more on load management, because it is absolutely crucial. As we said in the earlier stages, it's commonly an overload in training that leads to your patient developing patellofemoral pain. So then when it comes to our exercises and getting them back to their activities, we need to make sure that we're not overloading them at the wrong time to therefore just bring them back to the beginning. So how do we do this? Well, perhaps a simple method is using an activity ladder. This not only suggests a gradual increase in activity, as you can see from levels 1 to 6, but crucially, we also use the pain monitoring scale at the bottom. And with this, we're asking our athletes to gauge their levels of pain on that scale when they're doing those activities. So, if they find that doing it presents with pain in a comfortable range in the green section, great, carry on. However, if they're starting to notice that their symptoms go a little bit more into the red, then maybe we have to scale back and reduce the amount of load that they're putting through that knee. And of course, this requires flexibility and diligence on the patient's part to make sure that they're not overloading their symptoms with their activity. And therefore, that education and having that real discussion with your patient to make sure that they stay within the boundaries is crucially important. And ultimately, we know that that combination of load management with exercises does work. Rathleff et al. In 2019 completed a randomized control trial of 151 adolescents aged between 10 and 14. In the first 4 weeks, all the patients did activity ladder modification with the pain monitoring that we just discussed. Then, between weeks 5 and 8, they did exercises, and between weeks 9 and 12, they gradually returned to sport, again thinking about that pain monitoring to gradually increase the load, and they found that after 12 months, 86% of those patients had a good outcome. This stuff does work. Now guys, if you're interested in more on PFP, do check out our amazing course, link in the description below, run by 2 experts in PFP research, Dr. Bradley Neal and Dr. Simon Lack. In their course, they go through all the key things in terms of structural, psychological and physical variables for PFP, all the major research in terms of exercises as well as adjuncts, and key things like running retraining, which clearly is going to make a difference for your patients. This is an absolute brilliant course if patellofemoral pain is something you want to get more skills in. Link in the description below. Otherwise, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please support us by smashing that like button. Remember, we've got loads more resources on our Instagram account @ClinicalPhysio and on the website clinicalphysio.com. My name's Khalid. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon here on Clinical Physio.